Hello and welcome to this week's episode of CI Sports Zone. I'm Christopher Hugheslick. Joining with me today, as always, my co-host, Thomas Garverick, and back once again, he just seems to keep wanting to talk to us. We got Jonathan Michael. How's it going today, fellas?
Pretty well. Good. Going good. It was a really loaded slate of high school football on Friday, college football on Saturday, and then we had the NFL on Sunday. So it was awesome. I got to watch football all weekend. Life is good.
Yeah, well, you kind of mentioned it, so we can get rolling into this thing. We had a couple of pretty good high school football games this weekend. It was fun to watch, and starting off, this game was not disappointing in the slightest. We had Normal Community versus Normal West, and I had the pleasure of watching this and hearing you on the call for this one, Jonathan. Great football game. We're going to get into it a little bit more. Very interesting start to this one.
Yeah. With that flea flicker, what a play.
With the onside kick to start the game. That was what I saw that. I was like, oh, Normal Community came to win this football game. And that's what they ended up doing. Normal Community kind of looked like they were going to run away with it a little bit, but Normal West said not so fast in that one. Ended up returning that kickoff or that kick. So it was just good game. Jonathan, what'd you take away from this one?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, right away, the onside kick to start, and normally, obviously, you had to recover the onside kick, so good job for the Ironmen of actually doing that as well. It could have backfired really big time against Normal West, but, again, they started the game with that flea flicker. I mean, Luke Potts was the one that threw that football, long touchdown pass to Michael Mavick. He had 2 touchdowns again. No Marquand Gary this year for Normal Community at wide receiver, so Michael Mavick is kind of that guy for them. Again, you see that ball here. Overall, really good ball from Potts, who's listed as a wide receiver and a defensive back. He had an absolute whale of a game. He threw for that touchdown. He caught 2 more, and then actually there was a key PAT attempt in the third quarter where the snap was botched. He had to pick up the snap, broken play, had to roll out, and ran it in himself for a 2-point conversion that I think made it, at that point, a 3-score game. So, I mean, Luke Potts, really, really big game for them. Again, Community started and ended really well, Christopher. We were talking how big their offensive line was in that third and fourth quarter. I mean, they just seemed to wear West down, and they were breaking out some big holes for Cole Kretzinger to run through. But yeah, hats off to Normal West. They kept it close, competitive. Cody Mulbauer had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Malik Given-Smith, 2 rushing touchdowns for him in the red zone, kind of right up the middle. So again, he's only 5'9", 170, but I mean, he does not play that way. I mean, he can just run right in the tackles like he's a much bigger guy. So again, West was right there. Again, I think if it wasn't for a few penalties, if you just kind of bad breaks for them, I think they would have been right there. It was a really close game all the way through, and I really didn't know. I mean, the door wasn't shut on West until about the last few minutes of the game. So, again, it was a great addition to the Chili Bowl, and great to see both those competitive teams again.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it, especially in the second half of that game. I feel like the difference was that Normal Community offensive line. They had three really big run plays at least off the right side of that line that they just broke for. So I feel like the deciding factor in that really was the conditioning and that offensive line's play was fantastic at the end of the game, which as an offensive line, it can be hard. You've been out there. You're one of the few positions that doesn't get substituted every so often or every drive. So the conditioning of that offensive line and just I'm going to go out there and I'm going to beat you on this play mindset really showed in the later half of that game.
It's always tough to have a rivalry game in week 2 of the season because obviously that week 1 game, right, you're taking the training wheels off, and Normal Community through 2 weeks has looked really good, and West has looked equally as good. So the Ironmen looking good at 2-0 after 2 weeks.
Also, Jonathan, I wasn't there at the game, but the atmosphere looked insane from both student sections.
Yeah, both
big time show out for the student
those communities
sections.
Go all out for it, and that's the best part, right? Is you get the big game feel because the community show up for it, which is awesome.
And like you said, we had the Normal Community, Normal West. Well, we also had...
What a great game for CIProud.com. How about that?
That was very good. That was a fun
We also
one.
had a Peoria game against 2 teams. We have Peoria High and Peoria Notre Dame. What do we got on this one?
This was, again, another great rivalry game. Going into it, I expected that we were probably going to see over 80 points. It seems like both teams usually score on average about 40 points every time they play each other. Well, P&D didn't quite get there, but again, Peoria High was up, I think, 28-0 at the half. So P&D actually won the second half and still put up 31 after being shut out in that first half. But again, too much Breon Green, too much Darion Mays. I mean, talk about a player that is really just a huge breakout player this year. Darion Mays for Peoria High. He was a cornerback last year, part of a secondary that returns all of their starters last year, all conference selections, but Mays took it upon himself over the offseason. He told Aaron Montgomery, I want to play wide receiver. And Aaron Montgomery was like, well, I mean, we can try, but it's on you. I mean, it's a lot to ask, play wide receiver and cornerback, being out there, especially in a fast-paced Peoria High team all the time. But again, he caught multiple touchdowns to Tarion Pollard. Did the Tarion Pollard things again. So, again, big win for Peoria High. And, again, I mean, in past years, Peoria High is just kind of squeaked by PND. This year, they beat him by 27. So, again, I think the big thing for the Lions is just, again, kind of keeping that pedal down in that second half as well. Again, PND will wear you out. They are a very physical team, as many know. So, it's not surprising to see them, put up some points on the Lions, but again, Lions look really, really good, and I continue to be very high on them.
And Jonathan, one thing I've been noticing is, especially with this, their blocking isn't restricted to just these interior five. I've seen several clips so far. I watched a little bit of the game as well. The wide receivers are out there blocking too.
And I was going to say that for normal community too. When they ran on the right side, they kind of had like a little formation, a couple wide receivers. It wasn't just their right guard Mitchell West and their right tackle Cooper Caraway, or Mason Caraway, I should say. Cooper's his older brother. But again, the wide receivers were blocking really well. So good point.
Yeah, and it's that like selfish attitude, no block, no rock kind of thing.
Yep.
Like
No block, no rock. I like that.
it's just kind of like it's great when you can see a well-rounded football game. You got your offensive line blocking, you got your receivers blocking. It's not a selfish game, and that's what I'm getting from this. Just a great play by.
They are one of the most electric offenses in our area, no doubt. It was funny. So Patrick does his Pat's Picks segment during our 5:30 pregame show, and he literally said his first line of this game was points, 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 points. And there was 89 of them. High-scoring game, and it's because Peoria High they score quickly, they maximize possessions. They're a really fun team, and they're going to be a really hard team to beat because it's like you can either go one of two ways. You can try to match them and just go up and down the field and score with them, or you can try to shorten the game. You can try to grind out and have Metamora-like drives where you have 15, 16 play drives and milk clock, but then it puts all the pressure on your offense. You have to score. It is such an interesting dynamic having to play them.
Yeah, huge game for the Lions too this coming week. They host Morris on Saturday, so a little Saturday matinee action. That's gonna be a state-ranked matchup. Morris is state-ranked in 4A. Peoria High, I think they were number 5 or 6 in Class 5A this past week. They're gonna be due for a jump up after some.
Is that game here in town or in Morris?
It is at Peoria Stadium, and
Wow.
I think Peoria High again should be due for a jump up in this week's AP poll because there are a lot of 5A teams above them that lost. So I think Peoria High could maybe be a top 3 team in 5A going into that one.
Yeah, and looking next, we had another really good football game. It appears out at the Twin Cities, U High versus Bloomington. What did you kind of notice about this one here?
Yeah, I mean, first off, what a win for the Purple Raiders. Again, these are two teams that both of them lost a lot from last year. I think a lot of people were still thinking U-High after that 71-22 win over Manual.
Yeah,
but again, this was all about defense. I mean, I remember hearing Steve Cease talk about it. I think if based on what Steve said, I heard on Friday night, UI stopped Bloomington for 32 plays where they gained 1 yard or less. That's insane.
It is. Well, and again, I saw U-High week 1, and Rhett Lynch is not an easy guy to tackle. No. And so the fact that Bloomington was able to contain him and his effectiveness and that U-High offense to 14 points, that's what stood out to me because as I'm getting back, I'm editing, my scores and highlights and stuff like that. And so when I saw that U-High Bloomington score, I'm like, wow, like U-High only 14 points. That really stuck out to me. So kudos to Bloomington for getting the job done on the road.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, they still gave up 130 yards passing, 212 yards rushing. So
Yeah.
it looks like, again, kind of a bend
Bend but don't break.
Yeah,
right.
Bend but don't break. Yeah. They gave him about, again, 300 total yards. But again, look at it defensively for them. Isaiah Martin had a huge game. 10 tackles, 2 sacks. I
Wow.
mean, yeah, he was really big on that defense for Bloomington. That, again, this has lost a lot of players from last year. So again, Bloomington, that's a big win for them. I mean, they start 2-0. You're looking at the schedule. Okay, there should maybe be enough opportunities for them to get that 5th. Again, nothing's guaranteed, but
Sure.
again, they're in good position.
Yeah.
And we had a very good week of football. Some fun games, a lot of rivalries in town, and then even but kind of looking forward to this Metamora Washington game. What are you looking forward to, Jonathan?
Yeah, so this is our WMBT Game of the Week for this Friday, Week 3. Going to be a fun one, the Battle of the Blacktop out at Malone Field. We'll be back in Metamora for the second time in 3 weeks. So again, Metamora saw them Week 1 against Sterling. Obviously, it's really good, 43-14 win. Pretty much did it all in that game. They beat LaSalle Peru 32-20 last week on the road. It's a game that it just seemed wild in all sorts of aspects. I think the lights went out right before halftime in that game. So there were a lot of different things that Metamora kind of deal with. I would have liked to see them maybe being a bit more dominant in that game, but again, a win is a win is a win, and LaSalle Peru is not a bad team by any means.
All.
So they have a really good quarterback, Marion Persich. So again, good win for Metamora. They're up to 2-0 on the year. And then for Washington, a big bounce back win for them against Troy Triad. And I don't know how many people in the area know this, but Troy Triad is a good football team. They're 0-2 this year, so maybe not the best start, but historically that is a good program, almost on the same level as Washington. So that was a good win. Washington, I think they're still trying to get their offense a little bit more explosive right now. Will Freeman has been really big for them on the ground. He's had some big touchdown runs for them. So again, if they can kind of start to find their offensive weapons outside of Freeman, like Evan Dacey, like A.J. Jones, for example, Washington could kind of start to hit their stride here. And we've seen them, maybe after slow first 2 weeks, come out and dog walk Metamora in the first, in that Week 3 game. But again, I don't know if that's going to be the case this season. Again, I think it's going to be like Weston Community. It's going to be a much more closely contested rivalry than it's been in years past.
Yeah, I expect that to be a very physical game as well. I know that those matchups are always close, and both teams are going to be fired up for that as well. Jonathan, before we get into our plays of the week from Week 2, are there any other matchups in Week 3 that you have your eye on that we need to be on the lookout for if we have our viewers watching going, hey, what do I need to go see this week?
That's a great question. State of the Mid-Illini, Dunlap and Pekin is a big game.
It is.
Pekin coming off a tough loss to Belleville East. Dunlap obviously looked very dominant. Again, they've played Galesburg and Rock Island, 2 teams that the past few years have not been very good. So again, Dunlap has looked impressive, but it's been like, okay, now, just exactly how impressive are you when they face a good team like Pekin? So we're going to see just exactly how good this Eagles team is. Again, a great game, should be a great environment at Pekin. East Peoria and Limestone, I have my eye on that one as well. I mean, East Peoria is looking to get out to 3-0 start. Limestone, again, good showing against Galesburg last week. Didn't result in a W, but again, they put up 25 points. It seems like they're kind of starting to kind of get those wheels turning as well. So I'll definitely have my eye on that game. Here's an underrated game I have my eye on. Looking in the Big 12, Ender Stadium, Richwoods. They host Champaign Centennial this week. Now, Richwoods, obviously the big win over Manual last week, 28-14. So they're 1-1 on the year. And this may sound crazy, but I was looking on last Friday night about 1:32 a.m. I was thinking to myself, there is a path that Richwoods could make the playoffs this year. Champaign Centennial only beat Champaign Central 8-6 in a very kind of ugly game last week. One of my buddies was there broadcasting. He said it was really not too impressive of a game from either team. So, man, Richwood's opportunity there to get your second win.
Yeah.
Looking at later on the year, you got Champaign Central, you got Urbana, you got Danville, who I don't really know as much about Danville yet. I think it's a winnable game. Obviously they have a rivalry against P&D. They could come out fired up for that. You never know what's going to happen. Richwoods, I am really starting to think that this could be a year they could turn the corner. I think we're going to know a lot about whether they can or not on Friday night against Centennial.
Yeah, I saw Limestone, Pekin, DMAC, Tremont last week. Really impressed with DMAC. They took care of business. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. The big question, I want to see how Pekin responds this week. Really tough loss at home. And I just want to say this for all of our viewers. I hate seeing injuries. And Dylan Anderson for Pekin is one of their best players. He was injured on a kickoff. I believe that he did not return to that game. And so I'll be curious to see if he's going to be able to go. He's an important piece for that offense. And I can kind of tell that his injury really impacted that offense. They were down, I think, 19-0 at one point in that game. So I hope that Dylan Anderson's all right. I hate seeing high school injuries, especially to just really good kids. And so it'll be really interesting to see how Pekin bounces back because, you just said it, Jonathan. Dunlap is coming in red hot. Max Sutter obviously looks really good.
Yeah,
the quarterback play has been good. The defense has been good. So that's going to be a really interesting game of you've got two teams coming off some completely different outcomes. And then to your point about Limestone, I got to see them, and that was the most lively I've seen the crowd in the community for a game because they were winning at halftime, which was awesome. They were playing well. And then we're going to see one of their plays just here in a second. But Limestone looked competent on offense. They were moving the football. They were able to throw it. They were able to run it. They were doing what they needed to do. So hopefully Limestone can keep that momentum going from their game against Galesburg.
Yeah, real quick, if I could, just real quickly, two more small school games again. I talked about the middle line.
Oh, yeah, we got to highlight the small school games.
Two small school games that have my eye on big time. Eureka at Farmington. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then El Paso Gridley at DMAC, matchup of two 2-0 teams. Those should be some great games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and Thomas, you've been kind of hinting at it a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at our play of the game or the play of the week. Sorry, and the
and
first
you saw this early. It was from Normal Community, a little flea flicker from Luke Beatty to Lucas Potts, and Luke Potts, I should say.
Luke Potts to Michael Mavick. It was Lucas Beatty to Lucas Potts to Michael Mavick. So you were correct. You were correct.
How about that?
and like we mentioned,
three guys involved in the play.
and we mentioned before, one of the things that was really interesting about this is it was literally right after an onside kick they had just recovered.
That was the first play from scrimmage.
First play from scrimmage. So it was Lucas Beatty to Luke Potts, who then connected with Michael Mavick. So that way everyone who sees that knows that was the case. So very
unbelievable
awesome.
play.
And then what else were you?
So that was play number one. Let's show everyone play number two. I shot this. This was awesome. This was the highlight of my night.
Awesome.
This is Tyler Hammond from Limestone. So he's going to get the handoff here. And it looks like he's just dead in the water, right? He's running behind the lineman. And then look at this play. He literally was getting dragged down, breaks the tackle, and then all of a sudden he just blows by everybody for a 70-yard touchdown. I mean, the sideline lost their mind. The student section lost their mind. That was awesome. I love when, as a videographer on the sideline, when you get a highlight like that, I mean, it just makes your night. So that was awesome.
And as a former big guy up front, they're looking at him like, thanks, dude. Obviously there was a little pressure. He's about to get wrapped up, and nothing makes you feel better than it's like, okay, we ended up being okay. He broke that, and then he absolutely dusted everyone down the sideline. Just took off. Very, very fantastic.
That's the second week in a row now that I've had a run like that. So I had a run like that in the Manual U-High game where the running back kind of just disappeared behind the line. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be like a 3-yard run. And then all of a sudden the guy just spills out and turns a 3-yard run on first down into like an explosive 65-yard gain. So it's cool. I love seeing the big plays. It's always what makes being a videographer on the sideline really fun for sure.
Kind of moving forward here, before we let you go, Jonathan, I know you've been kind of invested in the sports bracket, the mascot bracket. So
let's talk about our results from the playing around.
We talked about it a little bit last week. Some big wins, like Ridgeview Lexington came out on top, and just big wins. And then moving on this week, we have some. We get into the round of 32. You got Metamora Central Catholic, Deer Creek, or DMAC, and Morton, Normal Community, Elmwood Brimfield, Eureka Canton, Dunlap, Abingdon, Avon, El Paso Gridley, East Peoria, Illinois Valley Central versus Olympia, Ridgeview Lexington versus Richwoods, Washington and Hayworth, Farmington Manual, Pontiac Prairie Central, Fieldcrest Normal West, Pekin, Princeville, Peoria Notre Dame, U-High, Limestone, Tri-Valley, and Tremont and Peoria.
What a loaded round of 32.
So just for people who are like, well, why are such these big schools playing? We seeded them by how big they were. So
based on the school size.
Off the school size on IHSA's website. So last week we had about 300 people vote, It was a very good turnout for 5 games. So
It was our most viewed post
Yeah.
on our website last week. Christopher, do not sell yourself short right now, my friend. This idea has been awesome so far.
The voting started this morning. We've been having a very big social presence this week since it's the round of 32, so there's 16 games. We're going to let the voting go for 2 weeks. So as we said last week, go through, vote for your favorite mascot, vote for against your rivals. I don't care who you vote for. Just
Vote for somebody.
vote for
It's
somebody.
always fun.
Hey,
seeing
I got
brackets
3
like that.
out of the 4 playing games right.
Oh, there you go.
So that was good.
There you
I
go.
was very excited about that because it's like you love just to see if you can get them right. So
Yeah,
I was
definitely.
like, sweet, I'll take 3 out of 4 in the first round.
It's always fun seeing too. Again, like we've run a similar contest in the past called CSM Madness before. And 2 years ago, the school that won it all was El Paso Gridley.
Yep.
Of all schools, small heart of Illinois Conference school
Yeah.
won it all. Now I think there was a lot of people I think voting against. I think Washington or Metamora or whoever they were playing. So EPG kind of adopted all the Washington or Metamora fans that were voting for them as well. But again, those small schools really do show out. It really kind of does surprise you that, like, wow, there is a lot of support for these smaller schools as well.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, before we head to break here, Jonathan, thank you for joining us as
Appreciate it.
always.
and are you
Same
going to
time
be
next week?
Are you going to be
Same
on the
time.
call for Metamora Washington?
will.
this
I
week?
will be
So
on
you'll
the
be on
call.
the call.
Make sure you tune in.
Yep,
Listen to Jonathan
CIproud.com.
on CIproud.com.
7:30 p.m. kickoff, 7:15 pregame coverage.
And
So,
then you'll be on Game Day Live overtime at about 11:15.
And then
yeah, 11:15 or so. Hopefully, I can get back in time this week.
You did good this week.
I was so close.
You were close, but you got there, and that's all that matters. So.
we'll be right back after this short break with a little look at some college football. Thank you for joining. Hello and welcome back to CI Sports Zone. I'm Christopher Huslig. Joining with me, as always, is my co-host Thomas Garverick. Thomas, we had some good college football this weekend. What were you what's on the top of your mind after this weekend?
Yeah, well, first off, it was a very interesting slate of college football, right? Because you had a lot of the top teams playing kind of like the exhibition game of the week, right? You're bringing in a
Yeah.
lot of these small town schools. But I want to start, Christopher, first off with my alma mater, the Ohio Bobcats,
Brag a little bit here, Thomas.
in front of a sellout crowd at Peden Stadium. They bring West Virginia into town. All the West Virginia town fans, Mountaineer fans, I should say, are coming in just saying, oh, we're going to beat Ohio. They're a mid-major school. They get the job done. I'm so proud of my Bobcats. What a win. And I just want to give a quick shout out to just the student publications. So when I was in school there, I worked for the PBS TV station and covered the football team. And so we would produce content like similar to this and post it. And just a wonderful job by all of the students at the TV station WOUB. They did a great job of delivering great highlights, the content. It was awesome. Just a great experience for them. I was seeing pictures. I mean, they said they have never seen that many students at a game. And so just awesome. What a big win for the program. And it's been really fun to see them not only win the MAC championship last year, they have a new coach this year who was on staff last year. It's been really fun to just see the excitement levels grow in Athens, Ohio for college football. And to me, it looks like a place where people want to go to play mid-major football at. So kudos to the Ohio Bobcats knocking off West Virginia. That was awesome. So very, very proud of my alma mater, Ohio. What about you?
Yeah, my big game that I really enjoyed watching, that I was intentionally keeping my eye on. As you said, a lot of people were playing it's the beginning of the year, so you're playing smaller schools.
Sure.
One game that I thought that wasn't that case, Oklahoma, Michigan.
Yeah, very
Oklahoma
interesting game.
Came into that game, like we talked about them last week a little bit against Illinois State. My hopes with Oklahoma are hit or miss. You never really know what they're going to come out with. But then pulling up that win against number 15 at the time, Michigan, who dropped all the way down to 23rd after that loss to Oklahoma. Just Oklahoma came out, and I think they're kind of hearing those, you don't belong in the SEC, like kind of they moved from the Big 12. I think they're just trying to go out there and show, with Mateer and all them, just trying to show that, like, we're an SEC team who can compete, and they did that against Michigan. They went out there, very good game, won 24-13, a pretty decisive win, honestly.
They really, in my opinion, they controlled that game from start to finish.
It was beautiful, like you said, from beginning to end. As someone from Kansas, we're close to Oklahoma. kind of a rivalry there,
Yeah.
but not big enough that like I still enjoy watching them play. I like the style of football they're playing this year, and so far, and like if they can keep that up, they'll be a team to kind of keep an eye out for this season as they keep kind of pushing down the field.
Yeah, I've got high school buddies from back at home. One of them is actually an Oklahoma fan. And so we were all just texting during the game. John Mateer, and you actually heard it on the ESPN broadcast, Kirk Herbstreit just kept mentioning that there's a little Baker Mayfield in John Mateer. And you can't help but see the comparisons. And so I was really impressed with him just because he came off just such a great game in week 1 against Illinois State, and he delivered with another excellent performance against a very solid Big Ten defense in Michigan. Now, there were a couple plays where Herbstreit even acknowledged, like, you're not always going to be able to get away with those throws.
Yeah.
But overall, John Mateer has quickly put himself in the conversation that he's a really good college football quarterback. And I think Oklahoma is a team in the SEC who might do more damage than what everyone would have thought at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
So really impressed with Oklahoma. A little concerned about Michigan.
Yeah.
Just felt like that they were very one-dimensional offensively. I really like Bryce Underwood, which really pains me as an Ohio State fan. He's got the natural arm talent, great athlete, and I just felt like they just had the training wheels on that whole game, and they were playing not to lose with some of their play calling. So I think Michigan is going to have to clean that up and change their offensive philosophy, because I'm watching this as an Ohio State fan going, okay, guys, last year they were heavy favorites, and after watching Michigan on Saturday, I don't see how Ohio State is not going to be a big favorite again. It seems like it's pretty simple. Get the job done, take away the run game for Michigan, and that's going to create a lot of problems for them offensively. So Oklahoma, a massive winner. Michigan, definitely a loser from week 2.
Yeah, and kind of another game that this one wasn't nearly as close. It was still a good football game. Illinois Duke.
Yeah, we have to talk about the Illini after the big win, right?
Yeah, it was
sure.
It was a large win, and like looking at the numbers, they were doing good. They were running the ball a little bit. They were throwing the ball a little bit. Another thing that happened this week that was the same. They did give up 4 sacks again, so it's kind of that can be a little concerning. But when you're winning games by as much as they've been winning, 45-19 over Duke, you're just nitpicking at that point, like. But maybe something to there's always something you can build on in the sport of football. And one thing I think Illinois kind of is clean up the pocket a little bit. Whether it's, Altmaier getting a little more comfortable or getting out sooner or the offensive line stepping up. It's just, that's literally the only problem that I've seen in the 2 games with the Fighting Illini is just cleaning up that pocket a little bit.
Yeah, the reason why I think they're such a big winner is that was a tough road game. Odds maker said that was a true toss-up. That could have gone either way. And so for Illinois to come in and force 5 turnovers, first off, when your defense forces multiple turnovers like that on the road, you are going to win 99 times out of 100. So your defense creates 5 turnovers, and then Luke Altmaier was very efficient, throwing for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So for Illinois to come out with a 45-19 win and a very decisive victory, and now they're ranked inside the top 10, I think as an Illini fan, you are feeling really good because coming up, you have Western Michigan, a game that they should win, and then Big Ten play starts. They go at Indiana, they host USC, and then they go at Purdue, and then the big one is they welcome Ohio State into town. So let's see if the Illini can keep that momentum going. But
yeah, and then kind of moving on here, another game as a Kansas native that I really had my eye on this weekend because my dad was in the Army. We're a Go Army family.
Love that. Salute. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. Army pulled out a big win against Kansas State. Some of these service schools, they kind of get slack from people like their service. They're not this. I think Army.
Well, they all run very unique styles of offense, right?
Triple option is the best offense in football. Okay, you will never you can't argue that point with me. I will die on that hill. But they came in and K-State paid them to come play them, and Army went in and they got business done. Army has been kind of a team the last several years. We saw them in the rankings quite a bit last year, and the discipline of the military academies is what I think makes them so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Even if they're not good that year, it's the discipline. You don't see
100%.
You don't see as many false starts. You don't see as many holdings, things like that. They're going to play disciplined football. Will you beat them? Maybe. But they're going to be more disciplined than you. They're going to get the job done. And that's exactly what Army did in this one. They went in and they're trying to make a name for themselves. Like, we are not just another military academy where we win football games. And last year wasn't a fluke. We're going to keep doing this each and every, like, that's what it feels like they're trying to say here. So
yeah, I mean, Army and Navy have really had some shocking wins in retrospect, but I think the bigger story too with this is just Kansas State has been skating by here, right? Week 0, they lose against Iowa State, and then they barely win the previous week in a game against North Dakota. That was almost just a massive upset, and then it finally happened. So with Kansas State, a really rough start to the season at 1-2, and then another team that barely skated by, which was the shocker, was Clemson. Down
Troy,
16-0 against Troy at home.
I was sitting at a Zach Bryan concert in Notre Dame, and like I'm like trying to check the scores, and like my bad, we were walking to the stadium, and like this group was like making fun of this girl who went to Clemson. And so I was like, what's going on? What is Clemson doing? So I like look it up, and they were losing to Troy like 16 to something at half or whatever. And I was like, Troy? I don't even know where Troy is. Like obviously I know where Troy, like Troy, they're a solid football team. As you can tell, they went and really played a good football game against Clemson. Now, give it to Clemson. Football is about finding a way to win.
100%.
And
100%.
Whether you win by 1 point or you win by 52, a win's a win. Was it pretty? No.
Right.
But it was a win. So I'll give it to Clemson. They found a way. They were struggling at the beginning of the game. They came back. They got it done. But
yeah, and I think
I'll be interested. I may have to watch Troy's games for the rest of the season because I'm kind of high on Troy right now. If they could do that to Clemson.
Yeah, I think in the era of college football, unfortunately, people get wrapped up in the style of points, right? And so I think in this game, I look more at I think there are more concerns with Clemson than people initially thought, right? Because preseason, everyone's like, okay, Clemson is the clear favorite to win the ACC. They are a clear national title favorite, and I think they could still get there eventually. But I think the big thing with Clemson is, you lose the first game against LSU, hard-fought loss. But then it's like, okay, what's going on here? Why are we getting off to another slow start against Troy? Dabo Swinney had some choice words after the LSU game. It's like, okay, what's going on here? Cade Klubnik is a top quarterback prospect. It's like this offense should not be struggling like it is. And so I definitely think that there is certainly something there for concern with Clemson moving forward is, okay, why is this team getting off to such slow starts? Because eventually you're not going to be able to come back from that. Another team I think really this was a head-scratching loss for me was Florida.
Yeah.
Florida. I mean, I know that obviously a lot of the fan base has wanted their head coach, Billy Napier, to be fired, and that's only going to get louder after losing a game to South Florida. Now, South Florida has beaten Boise, and now they've gone into Florida in the Swamp and won that game as well.
They're
very impressed with USF and their quarterback. But, man, I mean, that was a head-scratching loss for Florida. They have a really talented quarterback in DJ Lagway. And so, for me, it's just like, what's going on in Florida?
Well, yeah, and as you said, like, they're a team that now I'm like, oh, we got to keep an eye on these guys. 2 weeks in a row, like you said, big wins. So, just very interesting to see what happens now. Can they keep going on this roll?
Where do you go from here? Yeah. Because I looked at Florida's schedule. I mean, their SEC schedule is just a gauntlet. So,
yeah, it's
really quickly before we go into break, 2 other teams I want to just highlight. Really impressed with Oregon.
Yep,
I think
always.
Nobody is talking about them, or at least not enough. Now, granted, they're ranked 4th in the AP, so clearly, they're still being respected as a top 5 team in the country, but they scored 69 points on Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State, obviously, they've been a good team in the Big 12. Now, this is clearly not a good Oklahoma State team, but anytime you can put up almost 70 on a Power 4 school, you're making a statement. I've been really impressed with Dante Moore, the UCLA transfer who's come in, played really well again in this game, 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's looked really good. I've just been really impressed with Oregon and Florida State. I was very curious to see, okay, how do you respond after the big win at Alabama, or excuse me, they hosted Alabama, the big win against Alabama, I should say, and Florida State took care of business, Castellanos played well. I think Florida State is legit. I think it's always like, hey, do they kind of have that hangover game? They did not. So I think Florida State, to me, in my opinion, if I was going to have to pick a winner from the ACC right now, I like Florida State more than I like Clemson right now. And I really like Oregon as well. But obviously, you've got 3 of the top 4, Ohio State, Penn State, and then Oregon at 4, 3 of the 4 in the Big Ten right now. So those were my big takeaways from a solid week 2 of college football.
Yeah, and Thomas, well, we're gonna go hit on a break right now, and when we get back, we're gonna talk a little bit of NFL. So
Lot to unfold with week 1 of the NFL season.
Stick around, we'll be back. CI Sports Zone. I'm Christopher Huslig. Joining me, Thomas Garvrick, our co-host, and another very special guest who was with us last week, our local hot take expert.
Yes.
And WMBD reporter Alex Berger, who really
the man with the hot takes.
he really enjoys joining us for this NFL segment.
He does.
So we
What can I
decided
say?
we'd invite him back. So fellas, what happened this weekend with first week of NFL? What were you?
Well,
what were we looking at?
I just want to revisit what I talked about last week about my hot take about the Kansas City Chiefs
Hey,
not winning the AFC West. And I know Christopher is going to take this a little personal, and that's
Right
why
off
I'm
the
going to
bat.
enjoy doing this. But I talked up the Chargers. The LA Chargers did exactly what I thought they were capable of doing. I think what I was most impressed about that win was how good Justin Herbert looked.
Yep.
He was a huge winner of week 1. You know, I talked about the fact that in years past, they've been really run heavy first, but I felt like with the weapons that they had, Keenan Allen being back was really big for them. And then how about Quentin Johnston, the guy who is just notoriously known for dropping passes after passes after passes, suddenly is like one of the best fantasy receivers of the week. So absolutely loved what I saw from the Chargers. And I think that I'm not going to overreact to it, but I think that we're going to see a lot of performances like that. And I do think for the Chiefs, very unfortunate with Xavier Worthy getting hurt early. You had the friendly fire with Kelsey. They were running the crosser, and unfortunately, Kelsey collided with him. That's a big injury for them. I was encouraged to see how they were able to respond down the stretch in that game. But I think now with the Chiefs, you're going to be out Xavier Worthy for who knows how long, and then obviously still without Rashee Rice. And now looking ahead, the Chiefs play the Eagles.
yeah. Well, and like as you
test.
said, Thomas, the Chargers played a clean game. They did. I'm a Chiefs fan through and through.
Are you?
Yeah, right.
Are you a Chiefs fan?
Yeah, just in case you guys
Christopher?
didn't know.
Just a little bit.
But as you said, Xavier Worthy getting hurt didn't help. I'm not that person that's like, oh, like it is what it is. He got hurt. Nothing you can do about it. Someone has to step up. And then, which Tyquan Thornton ended up doing so later on. He caught that really deep pass from Mahomes. But
Hollywood Brown had a pretty good game.
yeah, Hollywood Brown. But also that Chiefs defense was not. I said it like 10 times. They couldn't cover a cough. Like
Yeah.
And like, I'm not taking anything away from Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert played a fantastic game, and that was the difference.
Yep.
The Chargers didn't make as many mistakes. The Kansas City, Jawan Taylor had 8 penalties again. He
Yeah.
killed a touchdown drive with one that the Chiefs had to settle for a field goal. So it's like Chargers played a fantastic game, and Kansas City didn't. I don't agree with all this like, oh, the dynasty's whatever. Kansas City's going to be fine. They lost to the Lions first game last year, and people need to stop acting like the Chargers aren't a good football team. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. That football team is good.
I know there's been a lot of conversation about how good Justin Herbert is, and like I said, I think he's had a couple statistically down years, and I think part of that is just because of lack of weapons. And I think now you're finally seeing, okay, when Herbert has a good complement of players around him, that's the outcome you're going to get. But back to your point, Christopher, I think the Chiefs will be fine, but let's look at the Chiefs' next 5 games. They play the Eagles
rough.
at home, Super Bowl rematch. That's going to be a tough game. They play at the Giants. That should be a win. Then they play the Ravens at home. That's going to be a tough game. Then they play at Jacksonville on Monday Night Football. The Jaguars, they're coming off a week 1 win against Alex's Carolina Panthers. They looked better, but that's going to be a road game. And then the Chiefs play the Lions at home on Sunday Night Football, a game that the Lions won on opening night a couple years ago.
Yep.
But again, the Lions were definitely one of the losers of week 1 for sure with the way they looked.
For
but
sure did not look very good at all.
To me, there was only the Giants game is the one game I go, that is an automatic win for the Chiefs in the next 5 weeks. Automatic.
Yeah.
I think now the Lions got to clean up a lot of stuff. And I think that, obviously, I think the Chiefs should go into Jacksonville. They should win that game. I think they are the better football team. But that's not going to be
Top to bottom.
an automatic win for them. You know, so I think I'm going to say this. I guess this is my hot take. But, like, I mean, the Chiefs could easily have a losing record after 6 weeks. It's possible.
Yeah.
It is
It is
possible. After 6
possible that
weeks,
they can have a
absolutely.
losing record after 6 weeks. They could be easily 2-4.
Yeah.
I think if the Chiefs I think if they can get by 3-3 or 4-2 and get Rashee Rice back, I think they're going to be fine. Because the Chiefs' second half of their schedule opens up, but they still have to play the Commanders. They still have to play the Bills. They got to play the Broncos twice. They got to play the Texans at home. That should be a winnable game. But I think the Chiefs are going to be fine. But
Yeah.
the first half of their schedule is tough. It is tough.
And the Chiefs always, like for years, they start out slow in the season. The beginning of,
Sure.
of the first couple of games don't look very good. And like I said, if they tighten up that defense, the offense looked pretty good later in the game. At the start, they were kind of slow getting started. But the game plan, Andy Reid even said it was, we're going to get Xavier Worthy the ball.
Yeah.
And that went
plan
out the
blew up.
window within 3 plays of the game. So
But that's not even that. The Chiefs' specialty over the course of their dynasty years has been receivers that would not be receiver ones on other teams. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid can get them into the office well. Like Xavier Worthy, he's great, but like they make him even better because of that scheme, specifically Andy Reid being the coach he is. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem going forward. But to your point, Thomas, I absolutely see there could be a losing record. Truthfully, it's a matter of how will the Chiefs pick this up in the second half of the year, because that first half is going to be really difficult. Also, the Chargers. We're talking about the Chargers. Their next 5 games as well. I mean, they've got the Broncos. That'll be a tough challenge. They've got the Giants.
Yeah.
Commanders will be a challenge. Dolphins, Colts. I mean, it's kind of a test of both sides of what kind of teams they are, truthfully.
Yeah, and let's talk about Dolphins and the Colts. I think the Colts were a team that just absolutely shocked me on Sunday.
Oh, my gosh.
Daniel Jones was
Danny Cutlets, baby.
until the Sunday Night Football game was the number 2 highest scoring fantasy football quarterback of the Sunday slate. Now, obviously, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen
Lord.
surpassed him, and we're going to get to that game because that was
wild.
what an unbelievable game.
Wait, who drafted who drafted Lamar Jackson again? Who
That would
was
be
that?
you beat me by like a couple picks, and I was like, Lamar. So that was a bummer. But I was really shocked with how good Daniel Jones looked in that Shane Steichen-led offense. He moved the ball so well. The Colts looked good on both sides of the football. I mean, maybe the Colts are going to be a
Colts' year?
surprise. I don't know. I mean, it's 1 week. I think it's a little mix of, I think the Colts are going to be more competent with Daniel Jones, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am. But I think it's also an indictment on, I think the Miami Dolphins are going to be a really bad football team.
Yeah.
And I've seen this writing on the wall all offseason. There's been a lot of game.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, I'm like, how do the Ravens recover
and
from
like-
this? And I think it's a big for the Bengals, who come off just an ugly win against my Cleveland Browns when they should have lost that game because the Browns kicker can't make an extra point. He can't make a chip shot field goal. And the Bengals offense was horrible in the second half.
We've seen the
And the
edits.
Bengals are 1-0, and the Ravens put up all these points, all these rushing yards, and they're 0-1.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm like, as I've
crazy.
said, people want to point at Derrick Henry. Here's the thing with football. I've played a lot of it. I've had this my concept. It really bugs me when people say that one play is that it won or lost the game. Here's the thing: if Lamar Jackson would have thrown a 50-yard touchdown the play before, that play wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
There is always something you could have done better at some point within the game. That like I'm like, yeah, they got the ball back because of that fumble. All right. But if you would have done something different, if your defense would have stopped them after that fumble, doesn't matter.
Right. I understand that. I understand that viewpoint, but again, I've talked about this with you guys. There's always pivotal plays that turn the game.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
again,
For
Derrick
sure.
Henry had a long 45-yard rushing touchdown. Ravens are up 40-25. You got to close the game. Ravens had 2 3-and-outs and a fumble. They did not close out the game. Those 3 series cost them the game.
Yeah.
They didn't execute offensively. All they had to do, really, if they pick up a first down in their last drive, they go 3 and out. They pick up 1 first down, they probably win that game. They didn't. All right, really quickly, Jets Steelers. That game really shocked me. Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers looked really good. I think that's really good if you
Jets
own
looked
any
good
Steelers on
as it
offense.
is.
Man.
And the Jets offense looked good. So if you own Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall look good, I think you're pleasantly surprised. I was personally out on the Jets, and so
Yeah.
far after week 1, I might have been wrong. Other big takeaways, I think the Bengals will be fine. So Jamar Chase had an off day. I think the Bengals, that was just a atrocious performance. I was really excited about my guy, Emeka Egbuka, caught 2 touchdowns, including the game winner for the Buccaneers. So
Beautiful
really
game by
impressed
him.
with him.
Yeah.
Concerned about the Lions. I had a feeling going into this year, the turnover with losing both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, it showed a little bit in that game against the Packers. So
Yeah.
if you're owning Lions players, don't panic quite yet. Don't panic quite yet. In fact, if somebody in your fantasy football league is going, I want to get rid of Jahmyr Gibbs,
Yeah.
then I'm done.
Yeah.
Go get him.
Yeah,
Go
and,
get him.
And Thomas, you kind of brought it up. Taking a look at fantasy, we have the WMBD Fantasy League, as we've said. Here's kind of the projected scores of what really happened. Obviously, this is not the final scores. We still have
Yeah.
games. Alex and Harvey both have several players playing tonight, so that will.
You know who my 2 players are playing tonight? Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones. So
But so
Not bad.
So it's
Thomas,
pretty good.
Thomas, Kurt, and I all scoring the most points up there.
Yeah,
for our
not bad so
fantasies.
far.
So-
My guys were actually all done, I think, after the noon slate. It was crazy. I was like, I don't think I've ever had a lineup where all my guys
Yeah.
were done after the early window. But hey, my team got the job done week 1. Joe Burrow, not the greatest performance, but again, I had Igbuka in that league. Chase Brown did well. Drake London, Tyler Warren is my tight end in that league. So I was very happy with some of the outcomes for sure. So
And then kind of looking forward to next week. We got some good matchups again within the newsroom.
Yeah.
Thomas, you're taking on former WMED reporter Ben Freeze. I got
Yes.
Patrick and
man.
Kurt and Alex. And Alex, after Kurt's showing this week, I am scared if I am you.
you know who Kurt has? Kurt has Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry carried Kurt
I'm
to a
scared.
week 1 victory over Patrick for sure. So again,
Oh
this
my
podcast
gosh.
will re-air after the conclusion of the Bears game, but we just want to say big night for the Chicago Bears on Monday
Yes.
night. We're going to see what Caleb Williams and this revamped Ben Johnson offense can do.
So
one
speaking
to
of the
watch.
Bears, we created a little friendly competition between ourselves. We're going to
we
pick
did.
the Monday games, and whoever loses buys the crew a large pizza to share at the end of the season. Thomas, who we got?
Well, really quickly, because it is 2:59 and we got to go, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears getting a victory tonight.
Alex.
Or on Monday night, I should say.
Chi-Town, Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams.
I'm going against you, Ty. Guys, Skull, give me the Vikings. That's I like JJ. So
Well, on that note, thank you for joining us on the CI Sports Zone podcast. We'll see you next week.